Hey guys, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am giving you the worst books that I read in 2019. This is always a fan favorite. I really like these videos as well, and I was looking at my Goodreads list of all the books that I read, and it was nice to go back and be like, yeah, that book really sucked. The way I'm going to do this is I'm just gonna go in the order of how I read the books. They all equally suck, in my opinion. If one sucks a little bit more than the other, I will definitely let you know. But these are just in the order of how I read them, and there are 10 of them, so I will try to go through them fairly quickly because just know that I didn't like them. The first book on my list is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this in January as an ARC, and I was so excited because obviously Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and a bunch of other books that I really love. And then I read Daisy Jones and the Six, and I hated it. I don't think it is meant to be read. I think it is meant to be listened to, and I read it obviously because I had the ARC from NetGalley, and it was just so disappointing and boring, and I knew what was gonna happen. It was so predictable, and I just didn't like anything about this book. And I know when it came out, I was so surprised to see that so many people loved it, and it won like the Goodreads historical fiction choice, and I just don't get it. That's fine. Once again, I think it was a book that needed to be listened to on audiobook, and I just had the e-arc. So Daisy Jones and the Six, I didn't like that. The next book is actually two books by the same author. They are part of the same series, but I will go through one at a time because I feel like it's important that I do that. The first one is 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This is the Firebird trilogy, I believe. I read this for book club, so that's why I read it. It's not something that I would normally read, and I did not like it. I don't want to spoil anything that happens in this book, but basically it's a time traveling situation. When she goes, the main character is able to go in these different dimensions in her body. So there is this one instance where she is herself in a Russia-verse that is very like old school. There's no internet. It's very like old-timey. And something happens in this particular Russia-verse that almost made me close the book entirely, but also I was intrigued to see what would happen next. It was a very weird situation. So weird that I ended up reading the next book, 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Gray, which is my next book on this list. And the repercussions of what she has done in Russiaverse come to light in this book, and I gave this book 1 star. I gave 1,000 Pieces of You 2 stars and 10,000 Skies Above You 1 star. And there is a third book, which name I don't know, that I will not be reading. Anyway, I hated this. I can't believe I got through the second one. I think my Goodreads review is I should have DNF'd when she went back to Russiaverse, and I 100% agree with that. It is morally gray. And the actions that the main character took, I do not agree with. And people either love that or, like me, they hated that. So these two books made my worst books of the year. The next book on my list is All the Rage by Courtney Summers. I read this because I really liked Sadie by Courtney Summers, and this was one of her backlist books, and it was another hard-hitting contemporary, which I really like. But I did not like this. So the premise of this book is that the main character has been sexually assaulted and no one in the town believes her. And then there is another story where her friend goes missing, and it kind of is like Sadie in that premise where it's 2 different stories in one book, which is why I really like Sadie. But I don't think she did a good job in All the Rage. It felt very disconnected, and this girl is supposed to be like her best friend who's gone missing, and the main character is just like, I have my own problems. I knew this was gonna happen. Why didn't anyone listen to me? And it was so weird. I didn't love the writing. I didn't love it. I don't know when this was published, but it wasn't good. It wasn't Sadie. I don't know. So I definitely want to give Courtney Summers' other books a try, but All the Rage just didn't impress me at all. I love hard-hitting contemporaries, but this one didn't work for me. The next book on my list is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. If you know me, if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll know that I am not a fan of fantasy or science fiction. So I mostly read contemporary. However, I picked Girls of Paper and Fire for our book club for June for Pride Month. And I was really excited for a female-female romance in fantasy. Like, I'll take female-female wherever I can get it. And this was just so boring. And I wasn't the only one who thought this in my book club. Everyone was pretty much in agreement that this book was lackluster and a little confusing, and the premise of like the fantasy world didn't really make any sense. So that makes me feel better, because I feel like a lot of times in fantasy when worlds are built, I just like am completely lost. But it felt like everyone felt the same way in book club, that like the writing wasn't great, this fantasy world didn't really make any sense. And there is a trigger warning in the beginning of the book for sexual assault, which I love trigger warnings. I'm really glad there was one. So it wasn't a good time. No one in book club thought it was a good time. Definitely no one was gonna read the sequel. So I'm sorry I made everyone read that. The next book on my list is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. This is Christina Lauren's first book. It started off as called Twilight Fanfiction and got published. I think they're mostly ebooks, and it was not good. I have read a lot of Christina Lauren's other stuff, and it's very formulaic, which is fine, but this was just like, it's smut, right? That's no big deal. I love smut. Give me any kind of smut, but it was just so like every single chapter they were having sex in like the same way, and it was just not well written. It was super boring. Like, I don't know how many times you can have sex in the same way and then be like, oh my god, do I like her? Oh my god, do I like him? Is he not actually a mean person? It was just not good, my friends. So sorry, Christina Lauren. The next book on my list is The Friendzone by Abby Jimenez. That's probably wrong. I'm really sorry. I read The Friendzone because my favorite booktuber gave The Friendzone 5 stars, and she doesn't normally read romance, and I really trusted her on this, and I ended up giving The Friendzone 1 star. I hated The Friendzone. The premise of this book is that this girl keeps putting this guy in the friend zone even though she is in love with him, because she just won't tell him that she can't have kids and he really wants to have kids. It was all lack of communication. It was so stupid. I had 20 pages of this book left and I closed the book because I couldn't take it anymore, and I knew what was gonna happen and I was so mad about it. And anyway, I don't recommend this book. It was not a good romance. It was also something else happens to side characters that's just like really depressing, and I didn't think it was romantic at all. So yeah, I have 3 more books. We're almost done. The next book is Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. I read this book in October because it's a spooky book, or it's supposed to be a spooky book, and it's kind of told in interview format, and I thought it was really cool at first. And basically this main character's sister had gone missing a year ago on this road that only opens up once a year, and so she goes on this road the same time the next year to go find her sister, and things start happening on this road. And my issue with this book is that there were so many characters that when something bad happened to the character, I had no idea who we were talking about. It wasn't well written. I was very confused the whole time. Like, if you're gonna make something scary, actually make it scary. So I just feel like so much was happening in this book. It wasn't well written. That's all I really gotta say. The next book is #Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. I read this book solely because YALSA is a library, or a teen library award list, and they awarded #Murder Trending an award. They made the top 10, and I wanted to figure out why, and I still don't know why. The premise for this book is super confusing. There's 2 stories in this as well. Basically, if you're a criminal in this world. It's the new United States. You're sent to this island where you have to fight these murderers. So that's the first premise. The second premise is this girl who was sent to this island was also at one point kidnapped in her life, and her kidnapper is back. It was so stupid, poorly written. I don't know what it was about. I don't know why it made this list. I'm so confused. Anyway, don't recommend #murder trending, and I think there's a second one, so I don't even know how that happened. I don't know. And then my last book, worst book of the year. This is probably the worst book of the year just because it was my most anticipated book of the year. That is The Toll by Neal Shusterman. This was my most anticipated book of the entire year, probably last year too, because I think Thunderhead came out in 2017, so I've been waiting for The Toll since 2017. And I gave this 2.5 stars maybe. That might be too much. I think I initially gave it 3 and I knocked it down to 2 because I was expecting so much out of this book after how good Scythe was, after that huge cliffhanger in Thunderhead, and then Neal Shusterman gave us this. And I just don't understand. I've seen people who have really loved it and have been really satisfied with this ending, and I just don't know how you were satisfied. I thought the ending was so stupid after all that we have been through, and then the main 2 characters were hardly in the book at all, and there were all these other characters that I didn't care about, and the way Goddard ended, it just, I hated this book so much. Neal Shusterman disappointed me so much. I lied to you. This is definitely my least favorite book of the year. This is the worst book that I read this year, and it was my most highly anticipated, and obviously I'm still bitter about it. Ugh. Those are the worst books that I read this year. All 10 I do not recommend. I don't read them. If you ended up liking any of these books, please tell me in the comments why. I would like to have a nice debate with you. I think it would be fun. Thanks for watching my video. See you on my best books of 2019. Bye!